obviously don't go and do that, please.
Now, you do whatever you like.
We can't condone anything of the sort.
No, we can't. Live!
Oh, that's new. That's nice. Who did that?
I heard your mom did it.
My mom did it? She did create me. That met you, who pretty much did it. Oh yeah, that's nice too. Looky there. Oh, yeah.
You know what it is?
We had a great...
All that money you made on YouTube?
Oh. Oh yeah. The lack thereof?
Yeah.
Yeah, not monetized. Yeah, a great electrician put that in, didn't he? Yeah. Yeah, he was fantastic. So we kind of reorganized in here. You can't tell in the video because it just looks like a bunch of shit everywhere, but yeah. Anyways, oh god. Jesus. Oh yeah. Yeah, I might need to turn the compressor on for you. Or we can just see how well it does without turning it on.
Is it off?
I think so.
Got a lot of capacity rise.
Yeah. Anyways, so back to this thing.
Good.
So we did a little install on some R35 coils. We got a Platinum Racing Products purple anodized bracket, and we're running some OEM Hitachi R35 GTR coils now. So we've got those in and fired it up, and it works pretty well. Went ahead and changed the tune around to be able to run them. But that's not the big deal. That's gonna help. Got rid of the D585 coils. We're gonna end up putting those on my wife's RX-7 that's getting a JZ as well. Just an NA JZ for now, or who knows, maybe we come across a good deal on a GE manifold and we just stick it on there. Yeah, I mean, you can see the JZ in this thing too. We got an intake manifold we've got to put on it. It's actually sitting right there. And then yeah, it's R154 swapped. We got that done. Got the drive shaft. Got to make some exhaust. A lot of work to do on that. But anyways, back to this. We are happy to say that the 6466 has done us very well. It's gotten us in the mid fours, 60 to 130 on 28 pounds. We made 805 wheel horsepower on 30 psi on it. Due in part help to the new PHR S23 exhaust manifold. Shout out to PHR. This thing sounds amazing, and it put down quite a bit more horsepower on less boost. We actually ended up making 805 horsepower on 30 pounds, where before we made 772 horsepower on 31.5 psi. So flows quite a bit more with the new 4-inch exhaust. But we have a surprise in store. Precision just released the next gen line of turbos, and here we are. We've got the next gen 6870 with a 1.0 divided housing on it, and we are going to make some jam with this thing. So we're going to start installing it. The hot side should just bolt up. The cold side, we're just going to have to put a 3-inch 90 on it and then run it to the intercooler. So we'll have to take off the front end to get to the intercooler. No big deal. And then the other stuff, all this will bolt up. The feed and the return should all bolt up just the same. Now, supposedly the 6870, it spools just like a 6466 Gen 2. So it should not provide any more lag than what we've got, which wouldn't be a bad thing, honestly, due to our torque off the line when we do 60 to 130 pulls. But basically it's supposed to spool like a Gen 2 6466 and make power like a Gen 2 7275. It's a 1200 horsepower rated turbo. The 6466 was a 900. We made 805 on 30 pounds. So we're hoping to make around 1,000 horsepower on about 30 some odd PSI. So we're going to see what happens. I'm going to get everything ready to take apart. So this will be the last look at what this car looks like with an S cover on it. The new turbo is an H cover. It's a little bit bigger. We're going to have to redo this hose here. We've got a Chase Bays angled water outlet, and we're going to run a Toyota sensor on it. And of course we'll redo this piping up in here. So last good look. We were going to go out yesterday to run this thing, but we didn't have the coils finished up. We're going to go try to have some fun in the 6466 one last time. But you know what? I'm good with just swapping to the new turbo because it's going to go faster. It's going to go faster on less boost. So here we are. We're going to start working on it. And everybody say goodbye. Bye, T51R. It was nice knowing you. Sounded cool. But we've got to come up with some other ricer mod now. Maybe we add a blow-off valve.
I'd rather add nitrous.
Oh! I like that idea a little bit better, so we'll add that one to the list. Alright, a little side-by-side comparison of the 6466, obviously on the right, S cover, T51R, compared to the H cover on the 6870 Next Gen. No T51R mod on this one. But you can pretty clearly tell the size difference on these two. The AR is the same. It kind of had me a little worried because this housing is like looks physically bigger, but when you look at this housing, it's just a thick boy compared to that one. So I think they're both 1.0s. Anyways, they're clocked, and we're about to go stick that sucker on the car and see how it looks. I have a feeling, sneaky suspicion, that it's going to hit the current water outlet hose.
You're wrong.
I'm wrong?
Yeah.
Well, that's
We ain't even got to change nothing right now.
technically. Wow. I mean, it's touching it.
No, it's because it's swinging over. Look, it bolted down.
Well, we don't have to change anything, but I still want to change it.
Yeah, we're just not going to do it today.
We're going to do it
we don't have to do it today. Don't do it. There's water in the car. You can drive it faster if you don't fuck with it. Sorry guys, the amateur cameraman.
Try that again.
What?
Say that again.
Sorry guys, the amateur cameraman had to make me stop what I was doing so that he could do this dumb shit.
Yeah.
So we're just gonna reuse that old gasket. You know, just sit it down on there. It's no big deal.
Yeah. There we go. There's a better light. Better light.
Something's not fitting this time. What's different? Oh, you know what we did? Put this thing right in the way.
Oh yeah, we gotta
unclock,
reclock. Yeah. We'll be back. And we're back.
Had to find our nuts.
Uh-huh.
Well, I just had them at home.
Yeah, I was about to say I had to get them out of the handbag.
You know, if you take your time and do the hard one first, it's less rewarding.
It's not easier?
Uh-oh. Especially when you're holding all the other nuts.
You're pretty good at that, aren't you?
Yeah.
I thought you'd never ask.
Out with the old, in with the new. We've got the new Precision 6870, the next gen 6870. And we ended up fitting in a Chase Bays water neck outlet just so we could clear for a filter, which we've got. We're going to put on in just a second. I don't have the filter, I just have the tube ready, but it now fits, so we'll be able to run a filter on this thing. And we're going to probably cut a little hole in there and put the filter down the bottom, nice and discreet. Wasn't too terribly bad of a job. We did have to repin a connector. We had to switch to a coolant temp sensor for a Toyota instead of a GM. No big deal.
We didn't have to, we chose to.
Well, I mean, we kind of had to.
We could have retapped that shit for whatever we wanted. They were smaller than the GM.
That would have been more work.
It was already a lot of work.
It was a lot of work.
Point this out to everybody if you don't mind.
Okay, point it out.
Yeah, look. So, see how the connector's actually underneath the valve cover flange?
Kind of hard to see.
You have to put the connector on before you attach the thermostat housing. Chase Bays, please take note that this is not a good design.
Maybe angle it just a little bit. Like a hair? I don't know. Maybe push it out just a hair. Who knows?
Yep.
But yeah, you have to put the connector on and then put the housing on. It's kind of weird.
It's their CAD jockey that did that did a bad job. I've been CAD jockeying for 20 years. And that guy's no good.
It's okay. Justin's not a cool boss. And he would, yeah, he'd fire that guy. Well, anyways, no, I'm kidding. Chase Bays, it's great. Excellent work. It just is that one little problem right there. It just makes it a little bit more difficult. Now, to be fair, it could be a different type of sensor. It could be like a...
All the pictures even show that one in the same problem.
All right, well,
there's
whatever.
No to be fair about
it works. You just have to be a little more methodical about it.
Maybe it doesn't work with the JDM head that you have.
That could be true. Maybe it's not VVT friendly. All right, but anyway, so we've got the new hotness. This housing is actually smaller in dimensionally. It looks like
I think it's an optical delusion.
Well, I got some pictures. I'll put up the pictures on here, and you can see the difference what I'm talking about. But I think we found out that this is actually it's the same volume. It's just that the housing is
inside.
It's bigger on the inside. Yeah, yeah. There you go. Same volume in a smaller package, maybe for weight savings. I think somebody at PHR said something about weight savings.
Remember we noticed that the casting's actually a lot nicer than the previous one.
That is true. The compressor wheel looks really nice. Anyway, so the biggest change was just the turbo. Obviously, next gen 6870. This is a 1200 horsepower turbo. The 6466 Gen 2 that we had was a 900 horsepower turbo. So 3-inch outlet with the H cover versus the S cover. I'll show a picture of the differences on the screen so you can see how much bigger this turbo looks in comparison to the 6466. Downpipe bolted up. There was no modification needed on the exhaust side at all. So it was just downpipe.
We should point out that we have a very flexible.
Yeah, I mean we have.
Joint.
I mean they've seen it.
Okay,
pretty flexible flex
very
joint.
Flexible.
The only difference was that we had to do the 3-inch. We had to do this hose in order to get a filter on it. Honestly, we could have just left it on there exactly the way it was, but I was making things complicated, and Justin just kind of went along with it as usual. So that's really it. Wired up a Deutsch connector for the coolant temp sensor, and that's pretty much it. I mean, it's relatively easy. So we've got this back together. We've got the new R35 GTR coils on. We're going to go out and drive it, see how it does. The last little thing we're going to do to this thing is going to be that intake manifold, and that's going to require a lot more work, I think, than just putting it on there, because we tried before, and the Chase Bays
brake shit.
Master cylinder's in the way.
It's not Chase Bay's fault. It's BMW's fault.
Okay.
BMW did not have enough foresight to know that their motor was incompatible with swapping it to a Japanese motor.
Yeah, BMW, what the fuck are you thinking?
Yeah, they should have known that their motor sucked.
Yeah.
And people were going to replace it, but they didn't pick up what we were putting down, so...
They were replacing it with God's motor.
Yeah, whatever.
Running on God's gas in God's country.
You're saying weird shit.
It is. It's God's motor. Yeah. If God was to pick a motor, it'd be 2JZ.
Sure, Jan.
Sure. So yeah, anyways, having to extend the accelerator pedal where it picks up on, extend the accelerator pedal to my mom's house. Hi, Mom. But we had to extend it by about 2 inches because the throw is kind of hard to, but the throw, whenever you accelerate, whenever you apply it. Huh?
There was a piece of aluminum wire here. Where'd it go?
I don't know. Where'd you put it? This right here?
Yeah, that'll work.
Sure.
I had a long one though.
So anyways,
I guess I yeeted it.
the throttle cable's, right there, and it can only go this far and not open up the throttle enough. So if I make it longer, like instead of being this long and turning like this, it'll be that long and turn like that and give it just a little bit more throw. That's the idea, at least. That's my theory. I don't know if it's a very good one.
Oh.
Interesting looking. Wow.
Well, it's paint burning off.
Very neat. The anodization.
No, there's paint on this side.
That's right. Yeah, on that one.
I ground back as much as I could, but then I, gave up. It's hot to get another rod.
Well, new setup is done. Kinda. Mostly. New setup has made some big improvements so far. Get a good look at it. This is a difficult swap for the intake manifold, but we'll come back to that. So the new hotness, obviously, we swapped the PHRS 23 manifold in, twin precision Gen 2 wastegates that are now dumped open to the ground in true Supra style. 4-inch downpipe. The rest of the exhaust underneath is 4-inch oval, and then a 4-inch round out the back. Very similar to the old 3.5, but now it's 4. Oh yeah. The big difference on this side is the new turbo. This is the new Precision 6870 next gen, which I've already talked about briefly. New turbo. Have not finished the intakes, just kind of sitting over here for the time being. We'll finish that later. Just put a filter on it, and then 3-inch charge pipe over there. But moving on to this side. Oh yeah, and we did the GTR R35 coils, which you can't see, they're hidden under there. But moving on to this side, we wanted to do an intake manifold because my power curve was falling off, and I felt like this was probably the best way to achieve a broader power band. So this is not as straightforward as it looks. I mean, it looks like you just stuck it in there, right? No, it is not straightforward at all. The radium rail did not fit, so we had to use the rail that came with it, and then we had to fit the radium direct mount fuel pressure regulator on top of it, and then put a little 90 in there for the fuel pressure gauge. Did have to put some extenders, some adapters that extended out the injector base. 12 more millimeters actually on these. 12 millimeters in extra length. The biggest problem was the master cylinder. So it's hard to see down here, but basically, man, I don't know if I can get a good shot. Okay, you see that bolt hole right there? That was where the master cylinder used to be bolted into. We moved it over 1 inch. We had to take the throttle cable, we had to take the brake pedal assembly out, modify it so that it would accept the new position of the master cylinder. I don't have a whole lot of footage of all this stuff. It was kind of frustrating, and we just knocked it out really fast. But basically, in order to fit a JZ and this intake manifold, this is a Deepmotor or an MCC loyalty, they're all the same. You've got to relocate your master cylinder over at least 1 inch, 25 millimeters. Otherwise, it's just not going to fit. This hose also, the original brake hose, went this way and then curved under and all kinds of crazy shit. It wouldn't have worked. So we just got a little 6-inch steel braided hose and stuck it in there for the time being. That was the easiest way to fix that problem. Then I had to redo my throttle cable. The throttle cable would only open up like that much, and it still had like that much to go. So we had to pull the throttle cable or accelerator pedal bracket out from under the dash, and then we had to extend the lever on it. Basically it would go this much. So what we did is we increased the top of it, so instead of being like this tall, it's that tall, and gives you more throw. I know that's a real rudimentary way of explaining it, but that's the best I could do. We did have to redo the dash 10 AN hose for the power steering pump. That wasn't a big deal, works just fine, clears perfectly. Then we had to redo the cold side charge pipe. Justin had to go through and do some pie cuts in there. You can barely see it. But pie cut it all up. Got it in there straight. That's good to go. Welded a new IT bung in there. All that's looking good. New Toyota TPS instead of the GM. And then, of course, we had a factory IAC on here. Just somewhere over here. I don't know where I put it in this mess of things. But, yeah, I ditched that. It fires up fine with no IAC, even in the cold. And it idles great, so I'm not worried about it. No IAC. My M20 didn't have an IAC. I was able to tune it to where I didn't need it, so that's one less thing I got to worry about leaking. In fact, I went and made a log with the IAC on there, and even commanding it completely shut, it still leaked, and it caused me to lose boost by like 500 RPMs. The car felt like a dog. So, believe it or not, I thought that this intake manifold was going to make the turbo even more laggy. So for reference, the 6466 would spool 10 pounds by like 3,700 RPMs. The 6870, when I stuck it on there with a stock manifold, spooled 10 pounds definitely by 3,600 RPMs. Like never any later than that. This is in 4th gear load, by the way. Put this on here, I'm expecting to lose like 300-400 RPM of spool loss. This thing spools 10 pounds by 3,400 RPMs now. I don't know where the math is in this. I don't know how that's possible, but it literally spools faster, which is kind of honestly, I thought this was going to like help me with my torque issue, and it's just made it worse. It definitely feels like it's got more power up top. So, anyways, enough blabbing about the new setup. I don't think I left anything out. It's a couple of grounds to relocate. Yeah, I mean, it was kind of a pain in the ass. I'm not going to lie. I was really not happy with the whole process. But it's on there. It's done. The sound definitely changed. All the valve train noise is a lot louder. The injectors are a lot louder. Just everything is louder because it's just reverberating through the intake. But with that being said, when it's under a load around 35 to 4,500 RPMs in that range, oh boy, this thing sings. It is crazy. Oh yeah, I lost my headlight functionality, my high beam functionality. So no more high beam. It's in there. It just doesn't do anything. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a scoop over here in this one, and then route it to like the intake whenever I need it for racing. And then on this one, probably do the same thing just for it to be uniform and look okay. Don't know what it will scoop to. Pretty much nothing. But whatever. I don't care. So yeah, there's the update. Looks pretty nice. Not bad. I think the only thing we're going to do from here eventually would be like a drive-by-wire throttle body whenever we go with a different EMS. That's way later on down the road. Oh, yeah, transmission. So the adaption problem we pretty much fixed. We went to open loop, and we haven't lost adaptions yet. However, it left me stranded at work the other day. It wouldn't recognize what gear it was in. I have no idea why. Got way ahead of myself, ripped my entire interior apart to find the problem, and then Justin's like, dumbass, you should just look at the live data and see exactly what wire it is. So, what do? Go to look at the live data, stick it in gear, and guess what? It just starts working. So now I just gotta wait for it to break again. When's that gonna happen? I don't know, probably today. I'm about to go get some E85. I'm a little low, and then I'm gonna do some more logs. Oh, speaking of logs, last night I went out. The new 60 to 130 time, well, let's just put it this way. The old 60 to 130 time on the 6466 with the PHR manifold was an 811 on wastegate. 10 pounds, 10 and a half pounds. 811. I stuck the 6870 on there, stock manifold, and we went 709. So we knocked off an entire second on wastegate by just switching to the turbo. So then I go and put the manifold on, and last night I go out and make my 60 to 130 hit, and it went 679. So it knocked off 0.3 of a second. That's a lot of power. That's a lot of power from this thing. 0.3 when you're already going 7s is a good bit. So I think my theory holds true. Now, I did turn it up to 20 pounds last night. It didn't do any better than the 6466 did, actually. I think eventually I went 520 on the 6466 on 20 pounds. This one did the same on 19 and a half pounds. So almost 20, right at 19 and a half. But my graph is like RPM goes up and it just stays there because I'm spinning. And then I shift and then it just kind of hovers and then it goes up. So it's just spinning. So 3rd gear spun, 4th gear spun. Still went to 520. So I think this thing, man, I might be getting a little ahead of myself. It might do like a 510, 5.0 on just 20 pounds of boost. These tires are no longer the go-to, in my opinion. I even aired down to like 17 PSI, and these motherfuckers still spun their ass off. So I got ET Street R's on the way. We're going to see how those do, and we're going to go from there. But for now, the setup is mostly complete. I don't think I'm leaving anything out. If I am, I will voice over or something and let you know. But yeah, it's done. Hopefully this setup lasts. We'll get it on the dyno here pretty soon and see what kind of power gains we've made. And then, I don't know what's next. What do y'all want to see next? At this point, everything's like falling into place. Everything kind of works. I need to fix the transmission problem. But what's the really big next step for this car? Definitely a rear end setup so that we can do some drag racing. But what do y'all want to see on the car? I'm curious. I mean, not that I care what y'all want because it's my car. I'm going to do whatever I want with it. But I'm just curious. Maybe you guys got some good ideas. I was thinking, what about a parachute? Maybe? Let me know.
To the youngsters, I know you're having fun. I used to have fun myself, but there's something you need to know. Stuff like that, that's a load of crap. That's a load of crap.